Welcome to Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentesana. On this show, we help busy moms and entrepreneurs find more passion and purpose in their daily lives through inspiring stories and interviews. Welcome back, everyone, to Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentesana. Today, we have an incredible entrepreneur on the show. Karina Pacific is a 25-year veteran in the skincare industry. She also has a successful real estate business she's been running for 15 years. But her first love and passion is absolutely skincare. And she recently launched a company called Kismet K, which focuses on holistic skincare for women, really getting into the inside out of skincare and how what we put in our bodies on the inside determines how we're going to look and feel on the outside. I love Karina so much. She's been in my life for almost 20 years. I was a client of hers, and then she was a client of mine. And we have just been on this incredible journey of entrepreneurship together. So many stories to tell, but I will leave that to the conversation. And without further ado, Karina, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I miss you.
I miss you too. Oh my gosh. I know we were so used to seeing each other like every week at some point, whether on Zoom or in person, at the, meet and greet meetings at my house. And it's been a few weeks, maybe. I know I miss your beautiful face too.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. You're just kicking butt with what you're doing, coaching, and I know you from a different life, but now you're like what you do. You really are pulsated out of your skin. You're like crawling out of your skin because you love it so much. You love helping women, and just the gatherings that you have just like this Thursday that I'm gonna miss. I'm so bummed, but like I'm just so happy for you.
Oh, thank you. You're amazing. Well, yes, you mentioned we've known each other for a long time, and kind of in a previous career of mine, like I was in an in-between stage. I just had babies and was kind of doing the stay-at-home mom thing, coaching a little bit, but also diving into the restaurant business. And you were instrumental in making a connection for us that helped us launch our business in the first place. And so
I
you were
forgot
part of
about
that journey.
that. Yeah, the
Yeah.
commercial space. I remember, and I'll say it briefly, like you came to me talking about you're launching this pizza place, and just through networking, I put you in contact with the commercial agent. But I remember seeing you, and as happy as I was because I love pizza, and you guys have the best pizza and the best meatballs. By the way, I just bought meatballs at the Manhattan Beach Meat Market. Yours are there. But I remember there was something missing when you said that. It didn't feel 100% you. It was you, but it was like there's something missing as to where, like, now, fast forward 20 plus years, you are doing you. Like, you're living authentically to what you wanted to do, and before you were kind of going through the process with your husband and building his dream, your dream, but it wasn't who you essentially are.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that, because that's what this show is all about, right? Like diving into our own true passion and purpose to live out the life that we're meant to live. And I was on a journey at that time. I had kind of abandoned my purpose and my strengths and gifts and talents for kind of this life of motherhood and having babies and all those things, which were part of my journey. And I'm so grateful to have in my life. But knowing full well, and you even saw, that there was something else that I was
I
really
had
meant
this
to
sort of
do.
this little, I call them little pings, I call them little hits. I'm like, there's something missing here. And then now that I experience you doing what you love, and the masterminds with the women ladies group or coaching 101, like you make me want to, women like you make me want to be better and do better and live more authentically, because you exude that. You're like, oh, that's how that looks like when you're living authentic. I want more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why, again, I do this show and why I have women like you on, is to share that with other people that are maybe feeling a little bit, just kind of not on the right path, or just kind of existing, but not really thriving. And so I'm in this place where I want to just see other women step into that part of themselves that they are innately meant to be and thrive in whatever it is that they're doing, and that they have passion for and that gives them joy. And it can be motherhood, and it can be, a lot of different things, but there's always something deep down within us that we are driven to do in this lifetime, and finding that is the greatest gift that we can give to
A
ourselves.
1000%. And what just clicked here is that because you are so living in your authenticity and what you're meant to do, are exemplifying. And it reminds me of when we parent. Like, we can't parent by really, you got to do this, that, and the other. We have to exemplify good manners and good, uh, you know, all of that stuff. It's by example.
Values, everything.
Yeah,
Yes,
that we raise good kids or are good friends with others. It's not by telling people what to do. It's because you're actually pulsating it out of you.
that's right. You're walking the walk, not just talking the talk, right? I mean, as in parenting especially, we have to, little eyes are watching what we do, not as much listening to what we say.
1000%.
As we know. So, okay, so getting back to that for you, I'd love to share with our listeners a little bit, and our viewers, kind of your story, how you got to where you are in this lifetime. I mean, you've come a long way from being a young girl growing up, and you grew up in Mexico, right?
I was born and raised in Mexico, and I came here when I was 12 years old. And I was raised in Mexico by a single mom. She was a very tough individual to love and understand and help. But she did provide a shelter, and then she did manage to buy a duplex. I think that's where the real estate bug came in. And then all on her own with great school, education, and managed to get us to the U.S. legally. I don't know how she did it. So yeah, at 12, I was born and raised there. Very poor beginnings, but I am grateful because I learned a lot about what it is to be poor, be in an environment of middle class, which is no longer in Mexico, and then upper class, and then just seeing how people live in these different socioeconomic ways. At 12, she got a job in the U.S., Houston, and I was supposed to have been returned to Mexico. But because she's such a hard woman to get along with, my family that was supposed to return me back to Mexico didn't. And she was forced to ask the family she was working for, I either have to go back to Mexico, I have a daughter, or she's part of the package. And they said, oh, yeah, pass the sugar. And they infused me into their family, a very upper class, like, like living in the hill section of Manhattan Beach with like the country club and uh, um, uh, instruments. I had to play the flute and a pool and everything like that. So it went from poor to like rich. And I had no sense of the language. So I was just sort of, and sometimes you just crash courses like that. I feel like they've been the best for me. Like, you just get thrown at it as opposed to overthinking it.
Yes, absolutely. You're forced to adapt and to take in. I mean, I think talk about 12 years old being an age where you're so aware of your surroundings and the outside world. Like up until like 8 or 9 years old, we're kind of inward, right? And we're focused on more like ourselves and what's going on with us and how we feel. And then when we get to be preteen and teenagers, everything that's coming at us becomes much more, dominant. And so you being a sponge at that time in your life, probably just taking in this whole new world of, a wealthy environment, nothing you'd ever seen before.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like a Brady Bunch family. They both worked in the oil industry. They both had young kids and then kids together. So it was really, I even though I was raised in Mexico, which is traditionally, two parents and a lot of siblings and cousins, I just wasn't. My mother was not very liked because she was a hard woman to get along with. So I was an only child, and so I was very excluded from the families. I grew up not with a father, not with a family, father, mother unit, no siblings. So when I came to America, it was the American family that taught me what it's like to have a unit, the husband and the wife. What do they do? Sit at the table and eat a dinner together, pass the sugar, manners, Sunday church, games, basketball games or baseball games, and the like the traditional family. I got a bike for the first time, that whole thing. So yeah, like they taught me what a family unit was.
That's incredible, and what an education of exposure to life and
Mhm.
just learning from, perspective of where you came from to what you were thrown into, and then I'm sure that helped you then to succeed on your own in America as well.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, you just kind of, I just felt that that was such a miracle. And I think I was born essentially with a little bit of, toxic positivity. Some people say, like, I'm very, glass half full, and I don't really go in. I always look at the possibilities as opposed to the obstacles. I don't know. Do you feel like people are born with that? Because
That's a really good question, and it's something I have that question written down about you is
uh,
you are one of those people that just is genuinely positive all the time. I mean, it's kind of like we wonder if you have a bad day going on ever because you would never know it. You're just such a positive person, and there are people who are just born like that, or it's a coping mechanism that you've created as a young child. My grandmother was this way, and I talked about this in a recent episode about
I love
my
that.
grandmother. Yeah, thank you. And growing up in a really poor environment with not a lot to be positive about, and her view of the world and her choices about imagination and how she chose to just look at things from a positive perspective at such a young age with having nothing really to speak of or no way to learn that mentality. That's a gift.
I think it's a gift, and I think um, I don't know, right before COVID, I was doing EMDR because I wanted to make sure a lot of my friends have a hard time with my positivity because it doesn't come easy to people. Like they're like, Karina, you can't think that way. I've been like poo-pooed for thinking too positive or too glass half full, or like I think people like to sit on the dark space too long. And I do have dark days for sure,
Mm.
but it doesn't come to me intuitively. But when I was 5 through MDR, a memory came, and I was 5, and I was crossing the street by myself because I was always left by myself. And I was pondering around different people's houses. I was never really looked after. And so I was 5, I was crossing the street, and then I was exploring because I'm very curious. And I went to like a busy street, like aviation, busy, but not PCH. And I kept on exploring. And all of a sudden there's a track, train track, and then another side, like the other side of the tracks, per se. And when you're 5, you don't know this. And I'm like, oh, let me keep going. Let me keep going and exploring. And I had a tap in the shoulder with a voice and said, go back. And it was this light thing, and I went back and,
So this is a divine tap.
that
This is
wasn't a
not a
divine thing, and
literal.
I feel like that has always been with me. I've been in so many spaces, places where my life was kind of questionable whether this was the right decision or wrong, that I've always been sort of guided. But angels, healers. I've been told by this lady, a healer, that like you have a lot of angels up there. I'm like, I think I do. I think I've always felt. So I feel like that divine, power has always kept me lighter and hopeful and positive. I don't know. What is it?
I have to ask you because this is just what we're talking about is so important because I think I've mentioned to you and definitely on this show about I'm writing a book about called Guided by Grace.
I love that.
Follow the breadcrumbs to your life's true purpose, and it's all about those divine taps. It's all about being open enough to hear the messages from your creator, from the universe, whatever you believe. I believe they're from God and the universe working together. And those divine taps, you do have to be open. You need to be open to receiving. And if you're closed off and your mindset is not in the right place and you're struggling and you're not in an open space of receiving, you won't hear the messages. So, what do you think it was? And this is going back to the question about your positivity. Was there someone in your life or something in your life, even as young as 5 years old, a person or a Bible or something that kept you open to the world of possibility?
Somebody got a little no switch. Well, I was born in Mexico. You're like, Catholicism is fed to you like it's rice and beans. It's just there's no choice. When I was little, my mother put me in Catholic school for a little while, and um, I had a godparents that in the morning, my mother would like pick me up, take me there at 6. My godmother would fix me and put him like in little braids and make me pretty. That was the only really time that I like somebody attended to me nice, like took care of me. My godfather would cook me, and then I would be picked up by the nun. And the nun, this was this beautiful, angelic, albino like, and you can't tell because they wear too much clothes. I mean, the priests and nuns wear too much clothes. Like it's just, you can't see their, but she just looked very angelic. And every time she walked me to the church, she'd hold my hand, and it felt like she was floating. I would look at her, and she felt like an angel. So I always felt really lucky to have had her. Like I was a special one picked up by her, taken to school, and I spent a lot of time in church after, and it was obviously quiet. So I learned how to be okay in silence, meditative without knowing that I was meditating. Um, so I think that goes along with that. And that's kind of like the divine around the time when that happened. It was at 7 to 9, where I was sexually abused. And I think that, in a sense, was stripped. So I think the divine kind of moved aside for a while until later, because I hadn't heard it for a long time until I tapped back into it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, wow, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think that's so poignant to point out that when something like trauma happens, and you say like takes away your innocence, what happens is you shut off from the world, right? You have to protect. So then there's a part of you that doesn't allow for those things to come in, because you have a shell around your heart or a shell around your soul protecting you from the pain that this is causing. And thank God that you were able to get back open and tap back into that divine connection that you've always had. How did you do that?
Oh, well, I think it too. I don't know exactly when, but the first um, when I came here when I was lived in the valley, and I met my dear good friend, best friend. Right before that, I was really, really lost, like really lost. Like I'd been 12 years in Mexico with no parents, childless, sexually abused. Moved to America. In high school, I had 3 really toxic boyfriends. One was a liar and cheater. The other one was a liar, cheater, and alcoholic. The other one was crazy. Like I just he was off. So I just was tired from that life. And that somewhere in my 23 or something years old, I was jogging around Lake Hollywood, and I just literally, my body collapsed on the ground, and I just got on the ground, and I just kind of said, God help me, God help me. Like I'm lost. I'm really, really lost. I really need help. And it was like an out of body experience. I was just tired. And then I got back up and dusted myself up and started just continue running. And and then a week later, I'd been after high school, I left my mother because she was tapped out. Like she did what she could. She was done. And if I was going to be anything more than she was, I needed to leave her because she stayed small. She stayed small the rest of her life. And like I knew there was magic, there was more to me. So I left her after high school. And but I was Airbnb back then, before it was Airbnb, just hopping around people's couches or extra rooms. And right after that incident where I dropped on my knees, I said, I need like a legitimate room for rent or something. I need to pay a bill. I need to pay, like, actually be responsible. And so I went on a hike in LA, came down, grabbed a little newspaper, like room for rent and stuff. And found one in Burbank, where I met my best friend, Maria, still around, my daughter's godmother. And she opened the door. She was renting a room in there and hugged me. And it was the most loving, most genuine, loving hug I had ever received. And I was 23, 23. And we became good friends. And she's like, would you like to go to church with me? She was a new Christian. And the moment I walked into that church, I literally again dropped on my knees and just started crying. And I was like, I've been found. I've been found. And she just brought me back to that. So slowly that intuitive started coming through, but not as strong as when I divorced and left my husband after 25 years. And I had to dive back and do another set of, you know, healing and and just reviving and
Rebirth, growth,
rebirthing.
all
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that story, because as you're speaking, I'm just thinking about how many women have gone through these challenging periods, and it isn't until we surrender
Yes.
for the need for control and let God back into our lives and say, I don't know what to do. And this happened to me as well. It's like, I need to let go and trust that there is a plan for my life. And I may not know how to figure it out, but I need to be open to what comes toward me and what I can receive so that I can move forward in the right direction. And that was what happened when you finally surrendered on that hike and then walked into a coffee shop and found a place. And that was, I believe, God. That was a breadcrumb. Why did you answer that one for rent ad to find your best friend who then brought you to church to open up again to receiving? And I just think we're so blessed to have these moments in our life. And this is when God is walking with us
Uh,
and showing us the way.
yeah. I just needed to, I think, I mean, there's a few pieces there. I got tired. But sometimes people say like you leave the drugs or you leave the alcoholism or the eating, overeating or the over shopping because you get tired of yourself. You get tired of that habit. Like it doesn't like nobody else can tell you. It has to be you that has to do it.
You have to go through it and get to that point, because if you try to dismiss it and go around it, it's going to show up again, right? And so you have to go through like you say, the exhaustion. That was me too. 2 years of fighting and crawling and scratching our way back out of COVID and survival mode and financial, almost losing everything, to let go and trust. You know what? I don't need to figure it out. I just need to trust that I have been going through this difficult time for a reason. And there's something on the other side of this. And let me let go of the how I'm supposed to get through it and just trust the process. It's so important, and I thank you so much for sharing that story. So how did you find, so fast forward, and you shared a little bit about your divorce and your relationship with your husband and what happened, and I wanna tap back into that. But before we get there, I wanna ask you, how did you find, like, your career? Like, you're 23, you get this hug, you're with your new roommate, best friend, and what happens?
And then I just sort of continue, going to church. She also, I mean, she taught me so much because I was not, as a child, I was not communicated with. Like I was kind of left to fend it myself. Nobody talked to me. Nobody conversed with me. I was kind of on my own, this little fly on the wall all the time. So she was such like also crash course into communication. She's an actor, so she's like a big communicator. She's a Cuban, so she's feisty and very blunt and in your face, and she's beautiful and stunning. And so she taught me like how to have communicate, how to agree to disagree, how to hug, how to say thank you, how to take a compliment, how to give a compliment, how to how to be like much more sort of graceful because I was very kind of boy, I didn't have any of that. I wasn't taught anything. So she just um she's so big personality. I was always getting in trouble because I never had um authority. So I would always get in trouble and sometimes overstep boundaries because I wasn't taught boundaries or anything. So I would get in trouble with her. She's very boundary like and she has these big brown eyes. Did you look what you did? Oh my God. And I'm like, and it would just shock me, like I would be in trouble, but she would do it and like, it's okay, mama. It's all right. And so she would like shock it, and but also give you the biggest hugs. I would have like, what to do. And she's still that. But, so yeah, we just kind of went. She was also a lover of skin. She loves skincare. She's gonna be 60 and she has better skin than I do. She's just loves skin. So we had that love for lotions and potions and makeup. So yeah. Yeah.
And that's where it started. You found
No, it
passion.
started from my love for skincare started during high school. I had my second job was a health food store in Los Feliz. I just recently went to visit it and it looks completely different. And I used to beg to be working in this little corner where it had like vitamins. That's why I love supplements and protein powder. And they had like cosmetics, creams, and lotions, and like some OGs that's still around that I still use from back in the day. They're coming out. This is the great product. I'm like, that OG has been around since like even before I was in high school. So, and then they had books about like herbs and crystals and vitamins and ingredients. So I just devoured that. I was like, oh my God. And then the first book I picked up was Dr. Northrup, Women's Body, Women's Wisdom. And it really taught me that really health, skin health, it really starts from the inside out, and that every organ, every part of our body represents something emotionally, and that we have the power to heal it, whether it is through plants or vitamins, through natural. It and really taught me to to look beyond Western medicine, not dismiss Western medicine. It is needed, but just look and ask questions and attach it to some parts of. Sorry, my dog. Um, Attach it to if you're having acne, which it really kind of where skincare, my love for skincare and nutrition came from my acne, and I knew to refer back to that book. And I was going through hormonal changes, but it was mainly milk. And it was dairy, milk, eating bad, even eat at night and partying in the morning. And the moment I started taking audits of my life, what I was taking in, my lifestyle, patterns matter. I was looking for the patterns that mattered into my skin. I was able to sort of clear my skin. Besides the gimmicks, the gimmicks were always there. The quick fixes. Now we're just being bombarded with them in TikTok and Instagram, but they were always there. And I was doing that, and it wasn't working. It really came to changing my diet, my mindset, getting back to God spiritually because Maria brought me back to God. So it was like a whole package.
Yeah, and you are so you're a walking, talking reflection of taking care of yourself from the inside out, and you glow. I mean, you always look beautiful, you always look amazing, but it really we don't I know now it's not just what you're using on your face, it's what you're using and putting in your body. And I remember years ago when we would come to you for facials, my daughter was going through her, hormonal phase and breaking out a lot, and you taught us dairy is usually the cause of, extreme breakouts, inflammation. And to this day, now I have cut way back on dairy and I barely have any dairy in my diet now, especially hormonally, excuse me, for women who are going through perimenopause or many menopause. This is a big factor is dairy in your diet can really wreak havoc on your hormones.
1,000%. Yeah. So that's where, and then through faith, I was partying a lot back in the day. Just in this gal was dating this really rich guy, and he treated us to a spa day in like somewhere in Beverly Hills. I forget. Might have been the Four Seasons. I don't know. And I was like, wow, this spa, like, no, I've never really sort of seen such luxury. And we got facials and massage, and the facial was really like, whoa, there's a thing for this skin. And so that's kind of my started with, you know, the the health food store, then those synchronicities, those God little breadcrumbs you call. And then I was looking for a skincare school, and I wasn't happy with what I was finding. And I don't know how I found this woman, but she was hardcore. She taught skin like it was the law exam. And typically in skincare, you just kind of sit there like real estate. The licensing is you don't really get a lot of training. You kind of just sit there, read. You got to pass a test, and there's not a lot of hands on. Um, you get sort of the experience on the floor. But this woman, I mean, it was like from day 9 to 5, it was 4 hours of practical and reading and doing, and then the last 4 hours were hands-on, um, practical and actually doing facials. And Maria would come over a lot and support me, and so I think I got the best training. And she also had some OG products that I still use to this day. She was really ahead of her time, and she was using products from Paris, Biologic. I can never spell it because my Spanglish, but it's got like a resurface. It's been around forever. So yeah, I got very lucky. And then I came to the South Bay where I met you.
Yeah. Well, you've had an incredible career in skincare for all of those years, 25 years. And then you delved into real estate for a little while, and you still do have your real estate business. And I have to say, I think it's like you're such a good example of like the feminine and the masculine. And I think we talked about this, how the real estate side of things really taught you to use your masculine and your power and your strength and your business, and learning all of those gifts and talents to be able to tap into through that. But then the skincare has really been like your first love, and that feminine side of tapping back into that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, skincare, I love it. I can do it with my eyes closed. I love it. I love now tapping into people are more open to skin health. That is really an inside out job. And I need to define it more because some people take it kind of a little bit personal. What is inside out job? What do I have to do? Can you just can it be just be on the surface? Like it's actually nothing is on the surface. It really is an inside out job. And I think that it can apply to real estate. Like, it's just, there's a reason why you're purchasing this and what is the real reason? Let's dive in and because it's going to matter um, at some point, somewhere maybe like in my 12 years of skincare, I wanted to give real estate a try because it was tapping on my shoulder because of my mother. I'm like, if my mother did it, like, how does that happen? And I never really thought I could do it or be successful at it because we live in an area. We live in this, where we live, and it's so saturated with agents. And it's such a man's world. It's so masculine. The transaction of it is very masculine too. And then you have to deal with the masculinity of men. And it's a very kind of doggy dog world. And I just don't work that way, but I'm glad I did. And I learned, I love doing it. And it taught me a lot about negotiation, how to present something, be patient, all in due time, to really be more poker face about things to say and not say. Um, because we're problem solvers. We're supposed to really kind of have a team of you have the inspector and you have the appraiser and you have the handyman and you put it all together. So I enjoy the orchestration of it. We women are good at that. We're good at sort of project managing and making everybody happy. So that's good. But when my daughter came back from college, fast forward, um, which was 2 years ago, she would ask me, can you give me a facial? Can you wax me? What product should I use for this? And then some friends would say, what supplements are you using for that? What skincare are you using now? And then Maria and I always exchanging notes. And I'm like, they started creating momentum. And I'm like, I missed this. And I started sending my friends to go to Sephora and get this, or go to like this skincare place has this line, this product, get that. And that is really where Kismet K came to create sort of a portal where I could do virtual consultations. And also I've sort of curated a lot of products that in the website where I would recommend, where I could cover a lot. I'm still looking for some niche products that I feel are missing. But that's kind of where that started. So it's a work in process. It's just 6 months old. And um,
I mean, you're are an incredible wealth of wisdom and knowledge when it comes to skincare. Again, about the inside out job. It's the supplements, it's the diet, it's the whole big picture, as opposed to just looking at my skin, giving me a facial and say, oh, you're dry or you need extractions, right? It's so much more than that. And coming to you and being fortunate enough to be close enough that I get my regular facials with you. It's an incredible experience. It's so relaxing. You just are so good at what you do, and you can tell that you love it. And you're such a great resource between, just the inside out piece, plus all the products that you really do curate. You educate yourself on what works, what doesn't work. I'm always like, oh, what about this product? I saw this on TikTok or whatever. And you will give me a straight answer. It's not always about the top of the line best thing that's out there on the market right now. And so I really do feel like this is a holistic approach to taking care of your body, your health, your mindset, your skin. It's a whole package, what you offer. And we're going to have the ways that people can find you in the show notes, your website, follow you on social media, all the things to make sure that people can find you and try out your skincare line, the lines that you promote, the way the process that you take them through. So it's so valuable. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to tap back into something that you brought up earlier, and that is really kind of this recent journey that you've been on since you got a divorce. You were married how 20 something years?
22, 23. We were together
23.
for quarter century. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was, I mean, when I met you, you were happily married, had your daughter. We were both kind of in that place of raising families and doing the business and doing the thing. And then when we reconnected, you had since been divorced maybe a year or so. And so tell us what happened. Because I've listened to you talk about this process of divorce and your evolution. And I think it would be so beneficial to women who might be struggling in the fact of getting a divorce at this stage in life, grown kids, starting over. What was your journey, and what would you say to women that are maybe just getting to that place where they think that divorce is inevitable?
First, I want to say that I'm very proud of having been married that long from somebody that was not example to marriage. And it took me 2, 3 years to kind of oh, this marriage thing is kind of cool. And I loved having a buddy and my guy, and he's the funniest guy I know. We came together, people come for a season or a reason. And we really came together to really challenge each other in areas of our childhood that needed to be challenged. And to elevate each other. He had things that he needed to teach me. I had things that I needed to teach him. And but the most important, we came together to really raise a really terrific kid. We really I have parented in a way that for her, not because of my lack of, and he also, which was really hard to do because I had so much lack of as a child that everything I was doing, which is her childhood right, was a lack of. But so I had to do very consciously that it was her experience and not my lack of experience as a child. So thank you. So yeah, so we came together. We were really good parents. We had this flow where we just, oh, I don't know. I think that's your dad's department, or he would send her to me when it was my department. We never really told her what to do. We equipped her for her to make her own decisions, and to empower her. So we just sort of nudged it around here, but it wasn't you got to do this, you got to do that. We expect this from you. So we just did that so well because we both were, we'll say we call ourselves in the profession and the business of growth. We grew and grew, and essentially we started growing apart. He thought I should grow his way. I thought he should implement some of the ways I think is good. And it just became, not healthy to kind of battle with that. And because now we've done racing and now we had to face each other. So it was just time. But I had an idea that this was going to happen. And I didn't want it to happen because I didn't want a marriage. And I asked for couples therapy several times and it was denied. I don't know why. It's his own journey, but at least I gave it a try. So, right. I was saying, I asked for couples therapy. This is from a girl from Mexico whose mother could not even spell couples therapy. So it's all good. But as far as, I don't know if that answered your question. When if your spirit is being dimmed, um, you have to go. If your spirit is being challenged and questioned, you're not living your authentic self as you are. And but I think it's more about if your spirit is being dimmed by this experience. Like,
That's so well put, and kind of what I was alluding to when you first spoke about is about, you said this relationship, we came together to really teach each other something that we needed to learn, that we lack from our previous lives, our childhoods, and grow together. And once you get to that point where you're no longer growing, it or you're growing this way and he's growing this way, or he's staying over here and you want to keep going. It's really hard when someone's pulling you down or pulling you in a direction that your soul and your spirit does not feel aligned with. And so that's a really tough thing. And I think this is a conversation that we'll probably have to table for another episode. I'll definitely have to open this up to another episode. But I do believe, like, I believe in marriage. I've been married for almost 20 years to my husband. Um, and we're happily married, but there is those periods, like any marriage, where I do feel like I'm growing and I'm like, come on, let's go, and or he's going in a direction that isn't someplace I want to go. And we're trying to like learn that balance of patience between where we are and because we were the same, we came together and it was like, phoom, I mean, our energy was just elevating each other. And when you go through a challenging time and you get through that on the other side, that also helps with growth. But when you start to grow beyond someone or in a different direction, it gets really hard to stay in the same place and not allow that person to dim your light or vice versa. And so that's a really important thing, is to always stay true to you first and foremost. And yes, the marriage is powerful and raising kids together is important, and being on the same page and guiding your children down a path that you believe is what's best for them, and doing that together is so important. But you cannot dim your own light, because that's not doing any good for anyone.
You cannot not allow somebody and or something dim your light. And you
That's right.
yourself too. I mean, we have to kind of, be our own cheerleaders, but we do have to have the people around us in the work or environment that is not compromising our light. Yeah, our magic.
Because then we end up becoming, resentful,
Yes.
disgruntled,
Yeah.
angry, or worse, and that isn't serving anyone. And so I love, you brought up couples therapy. Um, I was in a previous relationship where I requested couples therapy and it was denied as well.
This
And
is
I
so
think it's,
strange. Like,
yeah,
why?
I think some
I mean,
people just don't believe in it. Their limiting
yeah.
beliefs are holding them back from believing that that's what they need at that time in their lives. And that's their path. Like you just said, that's their journey to go down and figure out for themselves why they don't want to look inward and take responsibility for their heart in it. I think that's just where they are in their path. And, there's a whole nother philosophy I have, that some people just aren't meant to, in this lifetime, they're going to go where they're going to go. And they're only going to go so far. And some of us are pushing to constantly be growing. And we're in this lifetime to learn as much as we possibly can and keep growing to get closer and closer to who God intends us to be, or like one with Him, is what I believe. And so some of us are on that path, and some of us are on another path that are just content with this. And that's okay too.
Right. Or they just want to stick around with what they do. And that's as far as I'm going to go, even though they've grown. And I would, so to end on this, I would say to women that are going through this process, are going to go through this process, like, have so much grace and compassion for yourself, and applaud yourself for the what it was, what it is. Like, you had a marriage, and that takes a lot of work. That is, we are super women, superpowers. We do so much, raise the kids. Like, be proud of that. I'm very proud of that unit. That the birthday parties with my daughter, the traveling, like, that's not to be sort of dismissed. There's a lot of beauty in that. So just be very grateful for that. Be self-compassion, take care of yourself, find the modalities that help you sort of process that. Um and it's just, I'm bummed that it happened during when I was getting close to menopause, because I think it sort of pulled, it kind of what gets mixed between the grief and the menopause episode. So I didn't know if I was crying and it was a hot mess because of menopause or because I was grieving. So, and I loved my period when I had my period. I'm very feminine. Like, I get to have my period. I'm a feminine. I'm a girl. So I was looking forward to being in menopause. Now I'm post, and I'm like, I bummer. Like, it was mixed in between that grief, those 2 years of doing all that hard grieving.
Hard grieving. Yeah. I mean, and sometimes, it's hard to know when you're going through menopause or perimenopause, even emotionally. If I'm crying a lot more lately, for a couple years, I'm like, I don't cry very much anymore. I guess that's a good thing. And then in the last, 6 months, 8 months, a year, I've been crying a lot more and I'm really feeling my feelings. I'm like, okay, maybe this is hormones. That's okay. It's wrecking, knowing yourself well enough to check in and allow yourself to grieve, but
Feel the
also know,
feels. Feel the
right,
feels.
right.
Yeah.
Feel the feels, go through it all, no matter if it's menopause or anything else. It's all good. We're women. We're emotional beings and creatures, most of us. So it's all good. But I'm so glad we got to touch on that a little bit because I just think that conversation about becoming who you are destined to be, and kind of that dissonance that you might be feeling of like, oh no, but I'm the wife and the mother and all the things, but then allowing yourself to embrace this part of you that is still growing and still has another version that is yet to be uncovered and
Yes. Yes. There's a new chapter. I just wish and send prayers to anybody who's going through it because mine was fairly the exit and the divorce process was fairly okay. Got a little hot from time to time, but I've heard friends and people that had it harder, and the ex-husband, that one of the exes is just not a good person whatsoever and making the life miserable of the kids, and then the other person lagging, the divorce for to be advantageous to them. And so there it can get worse. So if that's you, I'm so sorry. But if it is you doing that, just hang in there and have grace and compassion and reach out for help, talk to your friends. Like that, I can't imagine. Mine was fairly smooth. Um, so I got kind of lucky. Yeah.
yeah, everyone has their own journey to go down for whatever reason, but I think what you said, it's like tapping into your grace and just like staying true to who you are innately. Staying in your joy as much as possible with the things that you love doing, like you said, the friends that you love doing, that you love being with, and that lift you up, and but also listening to podcasts, doing things like this, going on walks, and being grateful for things you do have in your life. They just help shift that energy and help you go through it when you're going through that difficult time. So yeah, thank you for sharing that story with us. And Karina, this we could just talk forever. I mean, I
No,
feel like
you
we could
can't.
sit here and yeah, we really can. But I know our listeners are probably like, okay,
Yes.
what's the next topic? But anyway, thank you for sharing that. How can our listeners and viewers find you? What is your Instagram handle?
So
LinkedIn?
for real estate, KarinaPacific.com, Karina Pacific, like the ocean.com, and Instagram Pacific, Karina Pacific Homes. For skincare, Kismet KISMETK.com. And the same for the Instagram, except the under handle at the end because I couldn't do it was taken. I don't know who has it. But yeah, and I do virtual consultations. I'm trying to put a freebie there where like there's some skincare, like morning sort of, routine kind of things that you can tweak, and a lot of resources. I'm huge into, but maybe because my age and where we are in the wellness, that word is so broad, industry. The biohacking for wellness is just so big right now. So there's so many modalities out there for our health, mind, body, and spirit, nervous system, circulation, red light therapy, and all that stuff. So I'm trying to create a list to kind of just preview out. But I have a lot of in my website, kismetkid.com. There's an affiliate page. And I found that was my best way to kind of share these things because my friends were like, what red light therapy are you using? What vitamins? So I have a lot of links in there that that I use, like have tried, my friends have recommended. And there's links with discounts in there. And if anybody has any questions, please just email me and I'm free to like do a free consultation for sure. Even though there's just book it on the website and I won't charge you. It's just
Amazing. And you're such an incredible resource. And it's so nice to be able to just know that I can go to one place and find all the information that I want
Oh, you're so sweet.
in one place, because we're all being hit from so many angles in social media and bombarded with messages
Right.
of skincare and everything else. So it's great to know that I can just come to you and go to your website and read about different things, and especially the supplements. All of that is just so
Yeah,
new to
I'm
me.
a huge pill popper. I know it's an
Yeah,
issue.
a good pill popper.
A good pill popper.
Well, Karina, you are amazing.
Well,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much
Jen. I
for
love
being
you so
here.
much. I'm so,
I love you
so
too.
happy for you. I'm like, you make me happy because you're so happy. I mean, it's just,
Oh,
yeah, like, live
thank
up
you.
that.
Well, when you're doing what you love and you're connecting with amazing women every day, it's not hard to be happy all the time. So I'm grateful and grateful for you. And we will have all that good info on the show notes so you guys can follow Karina and start living on the inside out. That's my message
Inside out.
today.
If you need to expound on it, call me.
I love it. All right. Well, we'll talk soon. Thank you,
Thank
Karina.
you.
Take care, and we'll see you next week, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you again for listening to Where Passion Meets Purpose. If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe and download it so you don't miss an episode every single week. And if you think you have a friend who might benefit from listening, please share it with them as well. If you'd like to contact me, you can always reach me through email on my website at jenmentesana.com and my social media, Jen_Mentesana. And you can DM me there and I'll always respond, and we can connect about topics on the show or anything else you'd like to discuss. Thanks again for tuning in.